Hi, welcome to my Race for the Galaxy tutorial. This video should teach you the complete rules to rftg, as we call the game for short. Normally, when I teach a new player the game, I only tell them a fraction of what you're going to see in this video, because a lot of the game can be learned as you play. But since I'm not going to be playing with you for your first game, I'm going to cover a bit more detail here than I would if we were meeting face to face. Don't worry too much about retaining everything in this video. The game gets easier with experience. Anyway, let's go ahead and start. Race for the Galaxy is a card game about building the most magnificent space empire in your corner of the galaxy. We measure magnificence by a simple point system called victory points. At the end of the game, whichever player has the most victory points, VP for short, wins. There are three ways to get victory points: building and researching technological developments, which happens during the develop phase; colonizing and conquering worlds, which happens during the settle phase; consuming goods for straight-up VP chips, which happens during the consume phase. Of course, you're going to need money and goods to pay for all of those items, so there's a produce phase where you can create goods, and an explore phase when you can look for new developments and worlds, as well as get money. You can also get some money during the consume phase. This is all done in a card game. The game cards in this game serve multiple roles. They're used as developments or worlds, money, and goods. Let's talk a little bit about setup now, and come back to the details of the game later. Now, when you open the box for the first time, you're going to see, a set of punch-out boards with victory point chips, an instruction booklet, 4 summary cards. These summary cards have a round summary on the front and a card summary on the back. So let's go ahead and punch out these victory point chips right now. These come in denominations of 10s, 5s, and a whole lot of 1s. You can tell by the number of white lines on each chip how much it's worth. So the 1s have one little stripe here, the 5s have 5, and the 10s have 10. At the start of the game, you're going to want to set out 12 VP chips for every player that's playing. If you're playing in a 4-player game, this is pretty easy. Just set aside all the 10s, and what's left should be exactly 48. If you're in a 3-player game, then just continue to remove the 10s, and then just remove 12 more points, and you should have enough for a 3-player game. This should now be 36. And if you're in a 2-player game, you just remove another 12. The next thing you're going to see in the box is you're going to see 2 decks of cards, a small one that has 50 cards, and a large deck that has 100 cards in it. So the 50-card deck contains the cards that the players are going to start the game with for their first game. Each player begins the game with 1 start world that's face up in front of them, as well as 4 cards that form their initial hand. If you've just opened the box for the first time, these 20 starting cards should be on the top. Start world, initial hand, start world, initial hand, start world, initial hand. You can tell them because the start worlds have a big box in the corner, either red or blue, and a big number, and the starting cards for that particular hand have a little orange number in the corner that correspond to the start world that they go with. So, for example, these 4 little 1s go with Epsilon Eridani. These 4 little 2s go with start world number 2, Alpha Centauri, and so on. So if you're playing with a set that someone else has already played with and probably organized, then you'll probably have to search for these cards if you're playing it for the first time. Also, every player will get a set of 7 action cards. Each set of action cards is of the same color, so the game comes with 4 sets of red, yellow, green, and blue. You can distinguish them from the normal game cards because the action cards have a colored back that helps the players identify which cards are theirs when they play them. So, since all this adds up to 48, you're actually going to see 2 more game cards in the small deck, one of which is a special start world, Old Earth, which is not recommended for first-time players. And we'll just add them on to the original deck. The other deck contains 92 game cards, but at the end of the other deck there are 8 extra action cards here that are only used in the 2-player advanced game, which we're not going to cover in this video. So, to set up the game, we're going to give each player a random start world and the corresponding starting hand. So, we'll set up a 3-player game here. If it's your first game, you'll probably just want to use the start worlds in order. So, we'll give one player here the start world number 1 and his starting hand of those 4 cards, and we'll give the player number 2 his start world and his starting hand of 4 cards, and we'll give player number 3 his start world and his starting hand of 4 cards. And then give each player a set of action cards. Don't worry too much about which color, just let people pick their favorite colors, because all the action card sets are actually identical. So here we won't be using this 4th set because we won't be having a 4th player. Then you're going to put aside all the unused action cards. You're going to shuffle all the remaining game cards, including the start world and any start hands of players that aren't in the game. And you're going to take that whole deck and you're going to shuffle it. Now, the first time you're going to play the game, the deck is going to be very well sorted, so you'll probably want to give it about 8 or 9 shuffles to get it really mixed up. And then you're going to set, after the shuffle, you're going to set the pile up here in the middle next to the victory point chips there, which is 12 per player, remember. And then you're pretty much ready to play a game. You'll want to have the 10s sort of on the side because you might need to use them on the game, but for your first game, I think it's unlikely that you will. You're ready to play a game, except that you don't know any of the rules yet. So, let's talk a little bit about that. The goal of Race for the Galaxy is to have the most victory points at the end of the game. You're going to do this in 2 ways. By playing cards from your hand to the face-up area in front of you called the tableau, and by getting victory point chips. At the end of the game, your total score is the sum of all the numbers in the little hexagons on the cards at the end of your game, plus all the VP chips that you've accumulated during the game. For example, suppose this were your tableau at the end of a game. Then your tableau would give you 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, 6 points. Suppose that you had some more chips, like 10 victory points in chips. Then your total score would be 10 and 6, so that's 16. If you had any other cards in your hand, they're not worth any points at the end of the game. The only purpose of having a hand is that it's the only way to get cards into your tableau. Every once in a while, you're going to have a card in your hand that has a little question mark in the hexagon. That means that the number of points it gives is variable, usually dependent on what else you have in the tableau. The last page in the rulebook tells you how to calculate these question mark cards. So, clearly the goal is to get cards into your hand, put them into your tableau for points, and then get these VP chips for more points. But how does all this happen? Well, to do that, you'll have to know how a round of race works. A game of Race for the Galaxy is played over several rounds. The number of rounds usually ranges from 7 to 12. Each round has 5 phases. Explore, where players draw cards into their hand. Develop, where players play developments from their hand to their tableau. Settle, where players play worlds from their hand to the tableau. Consume, where players discard goods from their tableau for card draws and points. And Produce, where players get goods on their worlds. There's also a special little bonus called Trade, which sometimes happens during the Consume phase, but it isn't really a phase by itself. One special thing about Race, though, is that not all phases are played every round. Instead, at the start of the round, everybody secretly chooses a phase, and only the phases that are chosen are played out. Any players that chose a phase will get a bonus, which is detailed on the action card they played. Let's look at an example.